In this episode of Net Lease TV, we interview Nancy Miller, Bull Realty, Ted Dowding, TD Commercial, Agnieszka Golik, TD Commercial, Keith Sturm, Upland Real Estate Group, Ross Hillesheim, 1850 Properties, Jack Kasin, TD Commercial, Luke Thomson, TD Commercial, and I'm your moderator, Chris Marabella, Net Lease TV. Enjoy. Welcome to Net Lease TV. We've got the all-star Net Lease TV. We're back here at Net Lease TV studio. I'm super excited to hear all the different Net Lease deals that you guys have closed, your listings, what you've been up to in the Net Lease market. So we're going to go ahead and start with Nancy Miller, Bull Realty. You guys might know Michael Bull, Commercial Real Estate Show. Well, Nancy's with Bull Realty. Nancy, tell us about some of the deals that you've closed as of late.
Well, we've closed some dollar stores are bread and butter. We've closed several Dollar Trees, Family Dollar, recently a Title Max. We're seeing a little bit more interest in those, and there's certainly a lot of those on the market. We're trying to do a little bit more medical here. I've done a few last year, and we're going to go forward. And we also have been very active with vacant QSR, repurposing since the pandemic. A lot of them have had staffing issues, so they've closed the stores, and a lot of mom and pop tenants are now wanting to go in and buy these and repurpose these locations. So it's just a bit of a snippet.
Where's your vacant QSRs located? And do they have drive-throughs?
Yeah, they're drive-throughs in the Chattanooga area. One of them is in Athens, Tennessee. We just put it under contract yesterday. It's really inexpensively priced, and they're going to repurpose it to a coffee concept. And the other, it was a former Taco Bell, and the other is a former Bojangles, and that's in Hickson Pike, which is a Chattanooga suburb.
And what makes you different from other loan brokers?
Well, I mean, the main thing is our main specialty is net lease. We do net lease properties exclusively, and we're really good at what we do because we're specializing. A lot of other brokers do a lot of different other property types, but for us, as well as we're kind of like a tech company, we take a lot of the money that we make and we put it back into research and development and prospecting for new lending sources, because once you find a good lending source with really low rates and good processing, you want to stick to that lending source for all our transactions. So we put a lot of time into research and developing new sources, building those relationships, because as you know, real estate is really a relationship type business at the end of the day. So if we have a good relationship with that lender, then our clients can leverage off that and get much lower rates, better processing. And I would say the other thing is you can call us anytime. We've worked on deals on weekends, holidays.
Still a little bit aggressive. So that's just a quick rundown.
What's your cap rate level on the Dollar Trees, and what's the buy side commission? How many years remaining in the primary lease terms?
The Dollar Trees are between 6.4 and 6.7 for a new 10-year double net plus. And the buy side fee is half of what I get, which is 2% on the buy side. And these are in exceptional markets. North Carolina has been very active and popular in the Southeast because it's a tourist haven, so people like it. But these are good sized cities. But love to co-op with everyone.
What's a double net plus? I've never heard of the plus. Sounds good. Whatever it is there, Nancy. Sounds great.
It is roof and structure that is still on the landlord, but the tenant is responsible, generally speaking, for CapEx, for grounds care, all of the maintenance items inside. air conditioning to a certain point of price point. So the landlord is really off the hook on a lot of the nitty things that they would be on the hook for a double net, a typical double net.
So do you have C of O? Are those immediate deals where, Keith or Jack or Ted, Angie, Luke, any one of these guys could start to bring a 1031 buyer, or are those
Absolutely.
far out with the C of O? They're being built.
Give me a call. We're ready to go.
Okay, so you're ready to go.
Absolutely.
And one last question on the fast food deals. Do you have any additional fast food with the drive-throughs that, as I said, that are good deals for people out there that want to put Starbucks or whatever in those deals?
I don't have any in personally listed, but I can, if somebody has a need, I have a source for finding more off-market, vacant and occupied QSR. So any of the brokers, if you all want to call me, I can go back to my source and see what we can come up with.
Do the sellers normally give you time to do your, try to get some tenants in tow? Or is it, 30-day due diligence, go hard and close?
No, they're willing to wait it out, Chris. We're going to wait it out for 90 days with the current folks that we've just put under contract. And the sellers are amenable to that if we know that the buyers have some substance and they're real. We try to qualify them well so we don't waste their time or our time or the seller's time. None of us like to do that.
Does anybody have any questions for Nancy before we go to Keith Sturm, Upland Real Estate?
No. So are these they're brand new construction deals, straight from the developer? Are they primarily in North Carolina, Kentucky, the middle of the country, or are they all over the place?
The ones we have listed right now are new construction in North Carolina, and the others are existing builds. And the QSR, vacant QSRs are existing QSRs.
So Nancy, on a separate note, we have a marketing company, netleaseworld.com, and this generates a lot of our buyers leads for us. I don't know if it would interest you at all, but we're happy to put some of these properties on our website and see if we get any traction on them.
I actually have you up on one of my screens now, thanks to Ted. So we'll talk. Thank you.
Excellent.
And we're going
to transact.
Jack, we're going to have Ted talk about Net Lease World and the algorithm that we really think is cool. That'll be coming up shortly. So Let's transition to Keith Sturm. Keith, what have you been up to? I know that we've done some Walgreens with you. We've done various different net lease where we've financed with Upland Real Estate, Deb Vanelli and your team there. What are you up to? What have you sold as of late? What do you have listed? What's going on?
Well, first of all, Chris, thanks for putting on this Net Lease All-Star panel again. We really appreciate it. You do a great job and a great source for financing for anybody out there looking. Chris has always been on top of it, knows the best deals and where to go for that financing. So that's all outstanding, particularly in this market where it's a little bit more difficult to get financing than it has been. So guys like Chris are very important to our transactions.
Hi, this is Chris Marabella with Marabella Commercial Finance. I'm here at the 2015 ICSC in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm here with my client, Gabriel Bodner. Hi, Gabriel.
Hi, how are you,
Gabriel
Chris?
And his wife most recently purchased a PNC bank in which Marabella Commercial Finance arranged the permanent CTL financing for the property. I'm just going to ask Gabriel a couple questions about the process, how he liked it, what we went through. So Gabriel, let's start with the first question. What did you think of the process of working with Marabella Commercial Finance on the PNC transaction?
I was really pleased with the entire process of working with Chris. Chris really takes you by the hand, guides you through the entire process to make sure that he's representing your interests. I thought something that was really special about working with Chris was that he was always on my side, asking the tough questions of the lenders, making sure that my interests were really at the forefront of what was going on in the transaction. And I think that not only did I feel protected, I felt like I really had somebody in my corner fighting for me.
Well, a couple lately, mostly local daycares, and another national tenant we work with is called Grease Monkey, and they too are less than $2 million, good corporate tenants, and they've been very active for us, along with interestingly enough, a number of multi-tenant strip centers in our local market has been very active. I think folks that like the diversification of the multi-tenant retail properties, up to 5 tenants, and that has been kind of a good alternative for some folks too, to get a little bit more yield and a little bit more diversification if you're not able to buy a couple net lease properties together. So that's kind of a recap. And Chris, cash is king out there today. What we're seeing on the financing market, I'm sure you'll let us know what the current details are as we go forward here. But one of the challenges we have with financing is when our interest rates are pushing that 7% range, and the property cap rates are less than that. There's certainly difficulty getting any leverage off those properties. And one thing I know about bankers, they don't like negative leverage, and buyers don't like negative leverage either. So a couple of things I'm sure you'll point out, a couple of creative things that can happen, including what we've seen is maybe even some seller financing as far as some creativity. And, the good news is the market's still out there. And I do believe now the bid ask is getting more reasonable. What I'm finding is sellers aren't coming out looking for, 5 caps for some crazy properties that, things like RV stores and some of those smaller stores, something in the 5 makes sense. Sherwin-Williams, something in the 5s, Starbucks, those things. But some of the other credits, shorter-term credits, not as good credits, I think those sellers are realizing that they're not going to be able to get 5 caps anymore like they were a year ago. They really need to push those to reasonable cap rates if they need to sell. And that's kind of my summary of what I'm seeing today.
Keith, one thing that I think is really interesting is even out here in California, and then I'm going to take some questions for Keith. Property values are still going up, believe it or not, here in San Diego. We don't have much supply during the pandemic with the stalling of the supply chain. A lot of developers weren't able to build. So, real estate, a lot of people still have a lot of meat on the bone. They have a lot of equity. And, so I still think that there's a lot of exchanges that can happen. People can exchange out for estate planning. The baby boomers, they're getting older, where they're not going to be able to go to their properties if they own apartments, and they can roll into net lease and just kind of cruise with the net lease.
And I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, if I may.
Okay, sure.
So what kind of people do you have as clients when it comes to financing your net lease?
Really, a majority of our clients are families that own apartments. They own various different type of real estate. They have a very low basis in their real estate, and they're getting to the point, where they want to retire and get into a hassle-free property, landlord-friendly property, and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. One, they want to defer taxes through utilizing the 1031 vehicle, and 2, they want to get into a hassle-free type property. And that's really the majority of people that we deal with. They're normally wealthy families that have a lot of real estate, and they're looking to do a 1031 exchange.
Nancy, I do have it's about a $4.5 million property. It's called Site One, which is the largest what do you want to say, landscape and nursery company in the United States. They have $1 billion as far as their net worth, and that particular buyer owns it for cash, and he would be happy to do seller financing. So we should probably discuss that at a later time.
Let's talk. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Nancy, I have a Walgreens with assumable debt. I don't know if it's going to be too large of a price point. It's $10 million. The buyer would need like $6 million equity. So we're looking at, again, roughly like $4 million in debt to assume, and that's at a 3.79 interest rate, if that would be of interest.
If you've got a package, send it. But I do think that's going to be over his limit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would the seller carry back there?
He would. Yeah, he's open to
He
a
might,
different.
right?
Yeah, he's
And
open to different
that's actually in Keith's backyard. It's not too far from them, so definitely talk to Keith offline about that. You're in Minneapolis, right, or St. Paul?
Yep. Minneapolis
Yeah.
downtown. Yeah.
And I don't want to butcher
That
the
one
name,
in our backyard.
Luke. What was the name of the your listing, Luke? You just got in the Walgreens.
I have a new listing coming up in Oswego, New York, upstate New York. Been there a
one in
long
Minnesota.
time. Yeah, the one in Minnesota that, yeah, I guess, yeah, for Keith. This is in Sauk Rapids, if you're familiar with that area. $10.5 million store, assumable financing at 379. The reported sales are very strong, close to like 3.5 million. It's a great site for them.
So Luke, before you got on here, we were talking about the Walgreens. We just did the interview, and I told Nancy the same thing because you had mentioned that it had
Okay, good.
available debt. So we did talk about your Walgreens deal, and that's
Appreciate
awesome.
you pitching the listing.
So if you're watching, check out Luke's Walgreens. It was the previous episode of Net Lease TV. He's got some beautiful drone footage. It's a great looking Walgreens deal. It possibly could be defeased, so you want to definitely check out Luke's deal. I want to jump to Angie, the rising star, Angie. Talk about a broker that just came out of nowhere, just parking that ball, just hitting that ball out of the stadium, doing deal after deal after deal. We just closed with Angie the Walgreens deal. We did the Dollar General deal. I know that some of the posts, she's ringing the bell with
You got another closing, Agnieszka. Yes, ring your bell. Wait. You actually got to use the dong because you went over 30 million today.
Boom.
And you get this bottle, Ace of Spades champagne.
Closing deals and deals.
So you closed. How many deals did you close today?
This week, 2 deals.
Oh,
Chipotle
2 deals this week.
Dollar
Okay.
General, yes.
Chipotle, where was that at?
Michigan.
Oh, great.
And Dollar General in Florida.
And it was your buyers, sellers? What did you represent?
Developer in Chipotle and the buyer on the Dollar General.
Okay, great. Any tips and advice for other deal makers out there?
Just close. Keep going and make some money.
Nice. Deals and heels. Congratulations.
Thanks. Unstoppable at this moment when other brokers are taking time off. We are going, even harder.
And I would imagine Ted, because Ted's amazing broker, he's probably told you it's kind of like a sport, right?
Right.
It's like surfing. It's like baseball doing brokerage. I heard Matthews mention the same thing. Kudos to him. But it's kind of like at first, like when I first learned how to surf, you're kind of like, but then once you get it, you just drop in, you get a ride, you're doing a cutback, whatever it may be. Broker, and I think that's where you're at. You're just starting to hit it, and bang, you're starting to slam some deals. That's awesome. Keep it up, right, Angie? Now, do you have any other deals that you've closed for your list?
Yeah, we closed in Wawa recently in Delaware at 6 cap, 4.5 million. It was all cash, 1031 buyer, and we have about 200 million more in escrow. Hopefully closing by end of this year. So we're on fire at TD commercial.
That's amazing. Now, do you want to represent sellers or buyers or both?
Both. Yes,
Okay.
I've closed on Chipotle recently with a developer in Michigan. So starting to get more and more of those deals coming up as well. We're getting ready for Q1 2024. So we're just getting those deals prepared and ready to go.
Do you, what kind of buyers do you normally get? Female, male, both, kind of a combination?
Pretty much combination. It's what you know and build relationship with them. So it really doesn't matter who you deal with as long as you build that connection and relationship. That's first and foremost. That's what's important in any transaction you're doing.
So does anybody have any questions for Angie? The rising star here, Angie.
Yeah, like she's doing a ton of these low cap rate deals in this environment, and I just want to know like you've had so much success like doing the Wawas and the Chick-fil-A's, and you're getting in relationships with the preferred developers. Like, what's your secret?
Yeah, I think it's just once you believe in those deals and I do, because there's strong corporate deals with national tenants. They're hard to sell in this environment when you're selling 4 cap deals. But once you believe in that tenant and they're performing incredibly well as well, and those are mostly 1031 buyers, they want to make sure their cash is secure with the tenants, just like Wawa, Walmart, and so on. So that's why I believe they are rather to have security over higher cap in this market.
So Angie's got that European work ethic also. She's Polish. So she's a
Yes.
very strong woman, works hard, very professional on the deals that we work together. Awesome job, Angie. I want to transition to Ted. So Ted, while we're at it, let's talk about Net Lease World. What is the algorithm? I was on there and it tells you goodbye, okay, bye. Tell us a little bit about Net Lease World. I think it's an amazing site. What's the URL? And who can benefit from Net Lease World?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Netleaseworld.com is the website, and I just made it as a broker. I like to think I'm pretty good on computers and creating filters and searching for properties for exchange buyers or regular buyers. It's just you type in Walgreens on other sites, it's like 700 options that pop up. I just if I wanted to search for Walgreens, I just wanted Walgreens to pop up, and they just made the site easy to navigate, super fast, and then made it like 3 different things. I liked how Zillow had the Zillow's Zestimate. I felt like I could make it a lot more accurate with creating a NNN estimate and trademark that for single tenant net lease, essentially high yielding bonds with like very minimal things that will affect value, comparing deals that are on the market currently with like different things like traffic count, who's the guarantor of the lease term remaining, is it a tax-free state or not a tax-free state, the demographics in the area, site visits with different programs we use with that, and combining all that information and then spitting out like what a fair market value would be, and then comparing it to the other properties that are on the market and then ranking them kind of like if you're trying to buy a car. And like if you go on Car Gurus and you look at a car for sale, say you had like a, I don't know, like a Honda Civic, and it was worth $30,000, and they were asking 28,000, it would be 2,000 below market, and a good deal. If it was 5,000, it might be a great deal. So just using that type of system, but for net lease, and then organically ranking the best deals on the top as great deals. So it's easier for a buyer coming out of other product types, like they're coming out of land and they're first time net lease buyer and they just want some cash flow, or if they're coming out of an apartment building in LA and they need to buy 3 or 4 Walgreens, they can easily compare, what's available on the market and then seek the yield that they're looking for, and be confident that, the deals are ranked properly. And, it's been a process. It took me 6 years to perfect it. I, always like take any type of criticism as positive criticism, because I learn and keep adapting and making it better. But it's been a really good tool for buyers or anyone that comes to our site to go look at and see, like, you can get a really good indication of what the fair market value would be of a property. If you're listing a property, you can look at the site and be like, okay, like, this would be overpriced. I should pitch it to my client. Or I even have clients, our guys go to bring their clients to the website and say, hey, you want a 5 cap for your brand new Dollar General? Is it on 100 acres of land? Like, like what's going on here? Because, like the average price is, like a 6 cap or something for a brand new Dollar General, like depending on where it is in the country. So we give them a really good indication where it is. And then they can actually add properties themselves to the site, and it will show them, okay, if you added this cap rate, that much term, it's going to be overpriced. Are you sure you want to price it? I changed everything from those negative price words to like great dirt and different things like that. But you can see organically, like the best deals are all ranked at the top, so it's easy to search for the best available inventory that are on and off the market across the country. So we've used that to really target, exchange buyers all across the world to come to one site with a really easy to use format, and then made the ability to add to cart and checkout. And based on what they enter as their buyer criteria, it's in a buy box. It matches them with new deals that hit the market in real time, and then automatically sends them matching deals, exactly what they want. And if it's not what they want, they just remove one criteria, and it won't send them deals that hit that box from now on. So it continues to narrow the search to give them the best available properties at all times, for their exchange or just when they want to add to the portfolio.
You mentioned that a developer can, like Ross Hillishing, could actually eventually put his property on, even though it's kind of like not meant for that. You've figured out a way to do that, correct?
Yes, correct. So what we do is, like on our initial page, it will show all the deals, but it doesn't have the full property addresses. So it has just the city and the state. So if you have like if a broker bought a developer a site and leased it up, and then they were going to get the listing, but they wanted to move it quickly, or they didn't want to have an exclusive listing with everybody, the number one feedback, or like the number one thing we were getting is like, oh, just bring me an offer, bring me an offer. Well, this gives us the ability to put those deals out there on the market, but not on the market where you're on XYZ street. So it's a great place if you want to just test the market, see where it falls in the great deal to overpriced category, and get real-time feedback and get eyeballs on your deal without necessarily committing exclusively to any brokerage individually. So we've been working with a lot of preferred developers that were like, we're working with 5 different brokers, but you're bringing us so many buyers. Why don't we just work with you? I was like, I've been saying that for years, but now they're just coming to us and we're putting them on the site. And it's just a lot more effective for us because we don't have to spend like a week putting a marketing package together and going to the market. It's put into the algorithm, get a fair market value, manage expectations, and put it out there, and then get some market feedback without completely, like, if you put something on one of the bigger listing sites, it says the days on market starts from that point on, unless you really go in there and have to work your magic to get it off.
That's what we do, and that's what Marabella Finance does. Marabella Finance.
It was kind of like technological. So her client, what I did is I did like an algebra to try to figure out, okay, what cap rate would he need to buy in at to get a certain return, cash on cash, that he was looking for. So if like you're an agent and you want me to do that exercise, I can do algebraically, just do a bunch of different variables so that we're laser focused on trying to get your client exactly what they want. And I did that with Angie's client. I've done it with other clients. So believe it or not, I remember some of my algebra, believe it or not. And it's come in handy because you can kind of just like laser focus in. I'm going to get to Jack and Luke, but before I get there, because they're best for last, Jack over there, I want to talk to Ross. Ross, what have you been up to? Are you looking for sites for more? Ross and I did the 7-Eleven together. What are you up to? What are you doing? Are you coming to ICSC in San Diego? Are you looking for new sites to do 7-Elevens or other tenants? What have you been up to?
Appreciate you all having me on. It's fascinating to hear from all of you. I'm a developer in Northern California. As Chris said, I was the principal and developer on a brand new 7-Eleven in the Sacramento area. Chris helped finance a buyer there. Chris, great job. That thing was phenomenal. Over the last year or so, as a developer, I've sold 2. I'm a ground up gas station and truck stop developer. I've built a handful of 7-Elevens the last year or so. Within the last year, I've sold a 7-Eleven and a Circle K. And right now, I'm actively working 3 different developments, all either gas stations or truck stops. I have them under LOI from Phillips 66, Pilot, and a large hydrogen fueling operator. So all this talk of Dollar General and Chick-fil-A, I love it. I visit those sites as a customer. I don't build or know much about them. I do know a lot about the fuel industry and transportation development. So that's what I've been up to. All my sites are in California. I'm branching out a little bit, looking up in Washington and Oregon areas, but that's what I do.
What kind of return on cost are you seeing, Ross, right now? And has it gone up?
You know, that's a great question, Chris. So when I work as a preferred developer with 7-Eleven, they are very strict on the build cap rate that I would call, right? And they won't let me get away with much more than 2 or 3 percentage points above what the market is. On the other hand, when you start working with these large energy companies, like the hydrogen companies of the world, like the Philips of the world, I can get a 11, 12, 13% return on my build cap rate. And that's what I underwrite.
So just to mention, I just did another 7-Eleven deal, and that was about $3.5 million. We did I think it was a 10-year fixed, 30-year AM, 576. It was similar to what we did with Angie on the Walgreen and the Dollar General deal. And I talked to that guy. He's an attorney, and I think it's his family. And we kept kind of talking to him. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity opened up where we could, do the cash out. We pull cash out. Now, Jack and Luke have showed me a lot of car wash deals. What I've seen kind of on a big picture basis with the lenders, if they're doing a gas deal, they really want the good credit, because if for some reason the tenant goes, belly up, and there's some kind of environmental problem there due to the gas, and the lender has to foreclose, they want to make sure that there's a strong credit there that's going to indemnify the landlord and the bank. They don't want to go in with it, and that 7-Eleven kind of checks that box, and I think they give you some pretty good indemnification, right, Ross? If you're with 7-Eleven environmental. So the lenders are looking at that as well, saying we don't want to lend on something where the tenant goes bankrupt and now there's nobody there to clean up this place if a cleanup is required. So, a lot of people don't understand that. There's a couple reasons they're looking at the strength of the tenant. One, that it's going to pay the rent so they can make the mortgage payment. But the second reason, if there's gas there, they want to make sure there's a good, strong credit that is giving indemnification in the lease if something happens, that they have the wherewithal to remediate the property if the bank takes it back. Because the lawsuit could be pretty crazy. If somebody got leukemia or something and they sue the bank, it could be much higher than the loan amount. So just so you guys understand.
Chris, I do have a question about some of my tenants and the rents that we're chasing. Some of these energy companies are willing to pay anywhere between $400,000 and $600,000 a year in rent. That starts to be a pretty pricey, pretty pricey asset for a potential 1031 buyer. That was one of the problems we had at the 7-Eleven that we sold. It was like, what, $10.5 million? Who wants to buy a $10 million gas station? I think that market is shrinking. What do you think, from the agents on the phone or on the call here, how do you think a $500,000 a year ground rent is gonna land in the market?
So, and then I'm going to let them comment. I think that the main thing, you really got to figure out what your sales are going to be, right? Because the rent is really a function of the sales of that location. If they think it's going to do huge sales, and the rent to sales for 7-Eleven, Walgreens, or whatever it is similar or lower than the system wide in that company, then it's a good deal. Also, right, you have to really look at the comps. When you have a brand new lease, if you have a tenant like 7-Eleven, that's, I think they're AA minus rated or close to that S&P, then it's kind of a different deal than if you only have 2 or 3 years remaining, right? Because now the intrinsic value is much more important. You better be looking at, is that rent at fair market value, or is it way over, right? If you got a shorter lease, because you may have to re-tenant the building at a lower rent. But at the beginning, it's not as important. Now I'll let you guys chime in. That's kind of what I think. Does anybody have any feelings on that?
You said it was ground rent. It's a ground lease.
Yeah,
Yes.
ground rent of half $500,000 a year. How's that going to land in the market with a credit tenant?
That's a toughie because you can't lose your depreciation, and it's somebody who's looking for a CD on steroids is what they're looking for, and that makes it hard. So you're looking at a pension fund or some that's a big ticket item. I think it'd be a tough one.
Ross, where's the location of the property? California?
Northern California, yeah, an hour out of the Bay Area.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much my buyers will look at specifically on location. I have a buyer specifically looking in Los Angeles area. He would buy 9 million to 20 million deals with high rent, but they have to be in those prime locations. So I think that's a main factor with those buyers as well.
There's a lot of tech buyers in your area. Ross, there's a ton of money in that area. Everybody wants to be in their backyard. That's why California, it's like, I would love to have, if you're in Beverly Hills, I'd love to own a deal in LA. Although a lot of people are exporting out to where Ted and Jack and Angie and Luke are in Florida. Florida is just on fire right now because of all the friendly politics and all the no state tax. It's a hot area. But definitely everybody kind of wants to have a deal in their backyard. But go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
I must have missed this, Ross. What's the term and the annual rental increases?
10-year fixed term, 20 years of options after that, and the annual increase is 3% per year.
So the point that I think makes it sellable, if you can get them to 15 years or 20 years, you probably have it sold. I think that 10 years is going to be another challenge to it, and I really like Chris's idea as a finance guy, not a marketing guy. But yeah, there's a lot of tech money up there throughout your whole area, and the biggest challenge I think, other than location, is just that term and what are you going to do at the end of the lease. And if you can push them to 15 years, 20 years would be outstanding. I think you'll find a buyer. In fact, I know you'll find a buyer. You just got to get that term up.
If you could push 7-Eleven, all right, Ross, to a 25 year lease, I doubt they'd do it. But if you could, and you could get the cap rate high enough, you could actually go get a CTL loan. You could buy a portfolio of net lease deals and almost 100% finance it. And you could do like residual value insurance where you don't have the phantom income. You could go out, if you could convince 7-Eleven to do, 10 to 100 million in stores because of the A-rated credit. The key is the credit of the tenant. So as it's a shorter lease, it's a different deal. Longer lease, it's more like, I think somebody just mentioned a bond, right? It's more, I think it was Ted said a bond. And it becomes more like a bond. And in the olden days, they used to do a bond lease. So there was no abatement rights for casualty and condemnation. Today, they don't really do that. They'll say like if in the last 3 years, if 75% of the building burns down, then we can get out of the lease. But in the olden days, you used to be able to get, with some of the tenants, a bondable lease. But anyway, it's kind of wishful thinking. You don't see that as much because of all the 1031 money chasing the deals. I want to talk to Jack and Luke. I kind of let the best for last. We just looked at some of their car wash deals. Car washes are doable, but and I want you to hear from you guys. A lot of people have been doing car washes. All the lenders I've been talking to them, and every one of them has said they've done a lot of car washes. When I was at ICSC, there's a lot of new car wash companies popping up. Why is there so many new car wash companies and so many car wash deals? And do you feel that there could be a potential oversaturation of that use. What are your thoughts, Jack and Luke, on car washes right now?
So I don't think there's an oversaturation of car washes. I think people are just starting to realize how much money can be made on a subscription model for car washes. And just there's a lot more people getting into the industry. I did notice Driven Brands had taken off all their car washes off the market over the last couple of weeks. So anything that hasn't been signed up has unfortunately been taken off the market. But a lot of the smaller car washes are still going forward. I think that car washes are slightly overpriced for what they are, especially since they're a specialty use. Charging over $5 million, I tell all my clients over $4 million for a car wash, I wouldn't even touch them, just because land value is at most $1 million an acre. To build a car wash will cost you $1 million, $1.5 million. There has to be some sort of intrinsic value to the lease, and that's on the low side. So, I mean, a car wash realistically is anywhere from $2.5 to $3.5 million to fully build out. So anything over $4 million just doesn't make sense as far as penciling it out on paper. That being said, still the bonus depreciation helps them a lot. You're still looking at a 64% loss. Again, speak to your accountant about it. But in year one, 64% of the purchase price, of the actual purchase price, as a general rule of thumb for car washes to be depreciated year one is a really nice number. So if you're putting 35% down, it kind of makes sense as a wash when people are buying them. And that's why a lot of my clients buy them. Not necessarily for exchanges, but for the tax advantages.
So Carly Iacono talked about, like, because she was doing credit tenant deals too. So those, you're saying they can take 64%? Is that what you said?
So
depreciation?
So
and you can only wash that against passive income, correct? You can't take that active income, correct?
You have to speak to your accountant because there's a little checkbox on your tax returns. If you are real estate dependent, technically you could take it off across the board. Again, speak to your accountant about it. There's a way to do it. It just has to be done correctly through your accountant. But it's 80% of 80%, which equates to 64% of the purchase price.
Mm-hmm.
Is a general rule of thumb. It's not necessarily like there's always those 1 out of 100 that doesn't work for, but for the most part, that's what it equates to.
So again, Jack's right. Talk to your CPA on all of the tax questions before you buy a net lease deal. Always talk to your attorney. Have him review the leases. All the leases are a little bit different. You never want to go into a deal without proper counsel, CPA, insurance agent. There's a lot to know in this. Even though it looks simple, there's some intricacies you got to know. So you definitely want a dream team of professionals. All these guys here are like dream team agents and developers. So that's what you want in your corner. And me, I've done, hundreds of net lease deals since we've got into net lease 1970. And we did about 100 million with Safeway as principals. So I got to be next to my father, Don Marabella. I got to, Louis J. Glickman was one of the biggest syndicators, New York. He owned Carnegie Hall. We were going to buy 60, 70 million Payless Shoe Source deals in probably 98 on a credit tenant deal. So I got to hang around, some really, Shelley Streisand, Barbara Streisand's brother. We did deals with him. Jackie Onassis, the Kennedys, we sold her a lot of stores. So that was really good experience for me to be next to my dad doing those deals. And we still own a lot of real estate. So I'm wearing several different hats. We're re-tenanting a building we own, and then I'm doing the brokerage.